Hey guys, good evening and welcome to this live session as a part of the free learning series for the SBI PO 2015 Phase 1 exam brought to you by the TalentSprint Banker's Choice program. So as you must be aware, this session is on quantitative aptitude part of the SBI PO 2015 Phase 1 exam, right? This exam is going to have three sections. First is quantitative aptitude, then there will be a session on reasoning ability, and there will be 30 questions on English language, right? So altogether 100 marks paper with 100 questions, 35 each from quant and reasoning and 30 from English. And the composite time given for these 100 questions is just 1 hour. So you have 60 minutes and 100 questions to solve. So this is really going to be a very tight competition. You have to be very good at managing your time there, and you should be working on these questions at your best speed, right? This is like a T20 match. So you have to hit every question, for 6 steps. I mean, in terms of how much time you spend per question there. And before we get into the session today's session, which is on quantitative aptitude, let me just quickly recall what all we have done as a part of this free learning series, right? You must be aware that we do one session every week for this exam, right? And so far, we have finished 4 sessions. This is our 5th session. The first session was on how to exploit this great opportunity to establish your career in the State Bank of India as a probationary officer, right? We have discussed about the new selection process and what should be the ideal preparation strategy so that we can make the best use of the limited time available. Then the second session was on speed map, which was basically on quantitative aptitude, right? You must be aware that it's all about calculations when it comes to quantitative aptitude, right? That's the secret. If you're strong in calculations, you can definitely score more, right? Every question here has got some numbers, and we'll have to, play with those numbers, perform that calculation as quickly as possible to arrive at the right answer. So generally, understanding the question or getting the right idea to solve it or the formula as such is not complicated, right? You may know the shortcut method or the shortcut formula. But where we get stuck is the calculation part, or where most of the students get stuck is the calculation part. So you must see to it that you are really very quick and strong in calculations. So we have discussed a few techniques on how to do multiplications and divisions faster in session number 2. The session 3 was on English, where we have looked at a very important topic, that is fill in the blanks. And our last session was on reasoning ability, where we have covered a few questions on coded inequalities and blood relations. And as you know, both are very important topics for any bank exam taker, right? And we have discussed the smartest ways or smartest methods to answer questions from these 2 topics, coded inequalities and blood relations. And in this session today, as I've already mentioned, we'll look at a few questions from quantitative aptitude. I've selected a few questions, and we'll see how do we solve these questions in the conventional method, and then I'll tell you the smart way of getting the answer, right? So using which you can save a lot of time, right? A lot of precious time in the exam. So let's get started. I would also like to mention that there is a chat screen available, beside the video screen, using which you can interact with me if there's anything relevant to the question that we are solving here. And I could see a lot of students have already joined the session, and a lot of discussion going on among us, right? A healthy discussion on how the preparation is, how much are you able to finish every day, and all that. So looks like you have built a good rapport, which is very good. And I could also see a few queries on syllogism, right? Some of you were like, please cover a few questions on syllogisms. So I think last session was on reasoning. Of course, we didn't do anything on syllogism there. And today I cannot take it up because it is meant to be on quantitative aptitude. But let me tell you, in our SBI PO refresher course, right, which is a part of our bank exam preparation programs, we are doing one live session every day. 7 o'clock in the morning, there's one live session for all our Banker's Choice students, where we solve questions from quantitative aptitude, reasoning, and English. So far we have finished 13 sessions, and there are 7 more sessions to go before you go for the exam. And in those sessions, we are trying to cover all the various concepts from every topic and across all the subjects. And we have already solved a lot of questions on syllogisms. In fact, our last session on reasoning was with a interesting set of questions on syllogs where most of the students got that. So I'm sure you can join those sessions and get to know a lot of how to answer questions on syllogs. So with all that, let's get started. I give you the first question here. I picked up questions from various topics. So I'll post the first question here on the board. All you need to do is try and solve and comment your answers, and then we look at the smart way of answering it. So the first question, here it goes, from averages. I'll first read out the question for you and then I'll put it here. The average age of 80 boys in a class is 15 years. The average age of 80 boys is in a class is 15 years, right? So there's a class of 80 boys and the average age of these boys is 15 years. The average age of a group of 15 boys in the same class is 16 years. So out of these 80 boys, there is a group of 15 boys, right? Of a group of 15 boys, right, is 16 years, right? And then the average age of another group of, right, there's another group of 25 boys, right? So there are two smaller groups here out of total 80 boys, and the average age of these 25 boys is 14 years. We are required to find the average age of remaining boys in the class. What is the average age of remaining boys in the class? Of remaining boys in the class. So as you see here, there are total 80 boys. Their average age is 15 years. Out of these 80 boys, there's a group of 15 boys where the average is 16. There's another group of 25 boys, average is 14. We are required to find the average age of the remaining boys, right? So out of 80, if you have already looked at 50 plus 25, 40 boys, we need to find out the average age of remaining 40 boys, right? Remaining boys of this class. I'll also give you the answer options here. The first one is 15.25. Second is 14. The third option here is 14.75. Fourth one says cannot be determined, right? Answer cannot be determined. And the fifth one, as usual, is none of these. So here's the first question from averages with the 5 answer options there, right? 15.25 or 14 or 14.75 cannot be determined or none of this. I'll give you about, what, 1 minute, because this is a interactive session, so you'll solve it and then post your comment. But as such, when you answer the question in the exam, it shouldn't take more than 10 seconds if you know the smart way of getting an answer. In fact, less than 10 seconds, right? You will be able to answer this question in about 8 to 10 seconds after you finish reading the question. So here is the first one. Your time starts now. Oh, so I've already started getting answers there. Good. I think 15.25 is what most of you feel is right, right? 15.25, option 1. I can see Samir, Mani, and Banita, Swati, Hari, Suraj, Ravindra, Sautrik, and Niharika, Gayatri, Sagar, Sindhu, and Indu. Smita. So good to see all of you here. Thank you all for participating. And surprisingly, a few of you also say that the answer is fifth option, none of these. Fifth option, none of these. I think Abhishek Pandey is one of them, or he's trying to actually solve it there. But there were a couple of comments where you have said the answer is fifth option, none of these. So we'll try and see what the solution is. But the majority of you, right, almost 90, 95, 98% of you say the answer is first option, 15.25. Okay. Right, I see a lot of students here, Prabhakar, Seema, and Gunisha, Shekaran, Himanshu, Khushbu. Good. And then I'm sure all of you are geared up for taking the exam next one, right? Today is 20th of May, by the way, and the first slot for the SBI PO 2015 Phase 1 exam is going to be on June 20, right? You I'm sure know that the exam dates have been released 20, 21, 27, and 28th of June. So these are the 4 days on which SBI is going to conduct this phase 1 exam, the most important part or the most important stage of the selection process for PO in SBI this year. And even if you are in the first lot there, which is 20th of June, you have 1 month of time. So ideally, you should have completed your learning part by now, and you must be practicing on what all you have learned, right? You should finish learning everything from quant, reasoning, and English, and now focus only on practice. Because as you all know, this is a game of practice, right? Clearing or cracking these exams is directly proportional to the amount of practice that you have done. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Because see, questions are all limited, right? Methods, I'm sure you know how to answer these questions, and these 3 sessions, right, I trust are adding up to your preparation and enhancing your learning there. But then practice is in your hands, right? What we do is only 10% or what, 15, 20% at best, but 80% is in your hands. That is practice. So keep practicing, right? Leave nothing to chances. Practice as much as you can. And I'm sure 1 month is sufficient enough for you to, take this exam with confidence. See, whether you clear or not, that's a different story. But when you take or when you go for the exam on the D-Day, you must be full of confidence, right? Even if you have 1% doubt on your ability, then you're gone. Because the competition is going to be huge. As I told you, 20 lakh students are expected to take the SBI phase 1 exam. So, it's really tight there. You can't be leaving anything to chances. So at least make sure that you take the exam with 100% confidence. And that can happen only when you have learned everything properly and you have practiced, practice and you're satisfied about what you have done, right? If you have left anything, I'm sure you'll not feel that confident. Anyway, 15.25 is what most of you say. Let's look at what the solution is. Okay, options are not visible. I think 15.25, 14. However, whether options are there or not, you must be able to answer this without any difficulty. 15.25, 14, 14.75 cannot be determined, and none of these are the options there. Now let me tell you how to answer. What do we know? Average age of 80 boys in a class is 15 years. So there are total 80 boys. Their average is 15 years. Out of these 80 boys, there's a group of 15 boys. Their average is 16, and there's another group of 25 boys where the average is 14. We are required to find the average of remaining boys. I'm sure you know what is the number of remaining boys. 80 minus 15 minus 25, right? 80 minus 15 minus 25. You're not supposed to put this on paper. You can do this mentally. 40 boys. We are supposed to find out the average of remaining 40 boys. How do we do? See, the simple point here is the sum of their ages must be balanced. Sum of the ages of 80 boys must be balanced to sum of the ages of 15 boys plus sum of the ages of 25 boys plus the sum of the ages of remaining 40 boys. So we'll just try to balance the sum, get the sum of the ages of 40 boys, and once you have the sum of their ages, you can calculate the average, because average is equal to sum of all their ages by number of boys. So what we do? Balance the sum. How do we calculate sum? Sum is equal to average into the number of boys, right? Average into the number of entries, number of terms here. So sum of the ages of 80 boys. So we can say that is going to be 80 into 15, because there are total 80 boys, average is 15, which is equal to sum of the ages of 15 boys. So that will be 15 into 16 plus sum of the ages of 25 boys, that is 25 into 14, because their average is 14, plus sum of the ages of remaining 40 boys. So basically there is one class of 80 students, 3 smaller groups, 15 boys group, 25 boys group, and the remaining group of 40 boys. So calculate the sum of the ages. 80 15s is how much? 1200. This is 240, 15 into 16, right? 15 square is 225 plus 50. See, we have learned we have discussed how to multiply numbers quickly, right? You can't be doing this on paper. 15 into 16. So 15 into 15 you know is 225. 15 into 16 is 15 into 15 plus 15 into 1. So 225 plus 15, which is 240. Otherwise, 16 must be taken 15 times. So take it 10 times, you get 160. Then take it 5 times, you get 80. 116, 80 is 240. So whatever method you do, it shouldn't take more than 0.8 of a second to get the answer there, right? Not even 1 second. 15 into 16 is 240. Then 25 into 14. How do you do this? 25 into 14, this should be 350. 25 into 10 is 250. 25 into 4 is 100. 250, 100, 350. So 240 plus 350 plus sum of the ages of 1. Now from this, what will be the sum? 1200 minus 240 minus 350. See, 240 plus 350 is how much? 590. 1200 minus 590. Don't subtract 590, subtract 600, right? The best way to subtract here is not to subtract 590, but to subtract 600. 1200 minus 600, 600. You know that you have subtracted 10 extra, so compensate, add that back. 600 plus 10, 610, which I'm sure all of you do, right? That way. So 610 is the answer. It is something like this. 99 plus 63. How much is that? 99 plus 63. 162. Now, a smart student will not add 99 and 63. He will add 162. Because 99 is very close to 100, right? It's easy to add 100 than to add 99 to a given value. So you add 100. 100 plus 63 minus 1. Because you have taken one extra, subtracted. So that's the idea, right? It's about how you look at the numbers there. 99 is not 99. It is 100 minus 1. So 100 minus 1 plus 63 will give you 162. Likewise, 590 is not 590. 600 minus 10. See, this may sound really very silly to most of you, I'm sure. You'll be like, why are you explaining all this? The point is, I'm sure there are many of you here who are not very comfortable with this, right? Who would actually, find it interesting. So for them, make sure that you change the way you look at the numbers to get the calculation faster. However, this is 610. Now we need the average of these 40 guys. What is the average? Sum by number of students. The sum is 610 divided by 40. 610 divided by 40. Now again, the question that arises is, how do you do it? If you start doing this in the exam, 40 and 610, 41s are 40 and all this drama, you are gone. You are nowhere in the competition. You are out of the race, right? This is like a running race and you have already lost the race. That's the right way of doing it, right? That's the correct method. I mean, no doubt about it, but you can't be doing it in a competitive exam and an exam like SDA PO there. What do we do? See, 0 you can cancel anyway. You are aware of that, right? 0 gets eliminated. Don't waste your time in cancelling this again. It takes only 1 second, but why to waste that 1 second, right? Don't waste time in cancelling the zeros. 61 by 4. 61 by 4. How do you do this? 61 by 4. See, 61 is not 61. Split. Break the number. 61 is not 61. 61 is 40 plus 21. Why is it 40 plus 21? I have to divide it by 4. So I'll try to break it in such a way that it's easy for me to divide. At least one number there. So if I split 61 as 40 plus 21, what happens? 61 by 4 will become 40 plus 21 by 4. 40 by 4, 21 by 4. 40 by 4 is what? 10. Then 21 by 4. 21 by 4, you must be able to say that is 5.25. But let's say if you are not comfortable enough in doing that, what do? 21 is not 21. 21 is 20 plus 1. Break it again. Right? Break each part so that you are comfortable in dividing it. So 21 is not 21. 21 is 20 plus 1. 20 by 4 plus 1. Why are we taking it as 20 plus 1? Why not 15 plus 6? Because I want to divide the number by 4. So I'll take some multiple of 4 in the numerator. Okay. So 21 is 20 plus 1 by 4. 20 by 4 is 5. 1 by 4. Left out is 1 by 4. 1 by 4 is 0.25. So 10 plus 5 plus 0.25. How much is that? 15.25. 15.25. So your answer here is option 1, which I'm glad to know that most of you have got it right. But somebody who said none of this, please take care of it. The answer is first option, 15.25. But now the point is, this method is wrong. Now you might be wondering, what nonsense? You've just explained the method, you've got the right answer, and then you say the method is wrong. Yes, the method is wrong. The method is correct. Strictly speaking, the method is correct, but it is wrong if you follow this in the exam. It would be wrong, or I should say, it would be a crime if you do this in the exam. Because this question can be answered in a much simpler and neat procedure. You need not write all these equations and all. What is that idea? Equal distribution. See, average is nothing but an equal distribution. If you have gone through the Banker's Choice video of average, which has got 8 or 9 different models, each model is one type of question, you would know that our idea of solving questions, or our idea of approaching towards an average question is that average is not average, it is an equal distribution, right? Just keep this in mind. Average by definition is equal distribution point, equal distribution. So what do? We take something and divide equally among all the guys there. Now, instead of doing all this, let's work with the concept of equal distribution. I'll explain this for you. I mean, so that I can explain it here on board. Now, what happens? You see, 80 boys, the average is 15 years. There are 80 boys in the class, the average is 15 years. What does it mean? Each of the boy is 15 years old. See, in reality, it may not be the case. Some of the boys will be more than 15 years. There will be others who are less than 15 years. But then, for your understanding, for the sake of your better understanding, assume that each boy is 15 years old. That's it. Average means that, equal distribution. So each boy is 15 years old. In fact, to make it much simpler, let us forget about age. Let us consider this as amount. 80 boys, they have got 15 rupees each. 15 boys, they have got 16 rupees each. And it's easy to understand, or I should say it's easy for me to explain. I'm sure you're good at understanding. I'm trying to make my explanation easier. So I'm saying that 80 boys have got an average of 15 rupees. Each boy has got 15 rupees, right? Each boy has got 15 rupees. So how many 15 rupees? 80 times. 15, 15, 15 and so on. 80 times, because there are 80 boys. Right? Now read the second statement. It says that the average of a group of 15 boys is 16 years. See, the point is, I am supposed to give 15 rupees to 80 boys. There are 80 boys sitting here. I am supposed to give 15 rupees to each one of them. Now, see their demands. There are 15 boys. Their average is 16. That means these 15 boys are telling me that, see, I don't want 15 rupees. I want 16 rupees. That's it. Period. No discussion around it. 16 years, 16 rupees. I'm actually supposed to give what? 15. The ideal condition is that give them 15 rupees. But these 15 boys demand 16 rupees. They're asking me for 1 rupee more. And I have no choice but to do that. So what will I do? I'll give them 16 rupees each. 16 rupees each. Now what is my loss? Overall loss? See, I have given 1 rupee extra plus 15 rupees loss. Each boy has got 1 rupee extra. So I have lost 15 rupees. So minus 15 is my loss. Now look at the second group. This group of 25 boys. These are good boys. These are good boys for me. See what they say. We want only 14 rupees. Their average is 14 years. Right? So they're saying that you give us only 14 rupees. I mean, I don't want 15. I'm okay if I get 14 rupees. Right? I want only 14 rupees. That's it. I'm more than happy. Okay, take 14 rupees. So what do? I give only 14 rupees to these 25 boys. Now, in this process of giving 14 rupees to 25 boys, I'm saving some amount. How much is that? 25 rupees. How is that? Each boy is taking 1 rupee less. So my saving per boy is 1 rupee. For how many boys? 25 boys. So overall, what is the saving? 25 into 1, 25 rupees. I have saved how much? 25 rupees. So plus 25. Now, if you look at it, I have lost 15 rupees in the first transaction. 25 rupees I have gained in the second transaction. So what is my overall profit or loss? 10 rupees. Plus 10. Plus 10. My profit is 10 rupees. Now there are remaining 40 boys. There are actually how many boys left out? 40 boys. Now I have to give amount to these 40 boys. Ideally, I am supposed to give 15 rupees to each one of them. 15 rupees, right? So each boy will get 15 rupees. That is for sure. Each boy will get 15 rupees. But the point is, I am left with 10 rupees extra. And this I cannot keep in my pocket. Divide. I mean, you know, nothing belongs to me. If there's anything extra left out, I'll give it back to the group. If there's anything short, I'll take from them. Right? I will not spend a single rupee from my pocket. So because 10 rupees is the profit does not mean I'll keep it in my pocket. I'll give it to them. Give it to whom now? Already the distribution for these 15 and 25 boys is done. Only these 40 boys are left. So I'll say, boss, 10 rupees extra, you divide among yourselves. Now you have to divide always equally. How many boys? 40 boys. So what I'll do here is, each boy is anyway supposed to get 15 rupees. Ideally, 15 rupees. Plus. Why plus? Because I have something left extra. I'll take minus if I'm short. If I'm short of 10 rupees, let's say, right? If there's a loss of 10 rupees. I'll say I've lost 10 rupees, you have to bear the loss. All you 40 boys have to bear the loss. So what will I say? Okay, equally will divide. The loss will be divided equally. So plus or minus depends on whether we are left with something or short of something. So plus how much? 10 rupees. But 10 rupees has to be divided equally among the 40 boys. 10 by 40. How much is 10 by 40? 0.25. 1 by 4, 0.25. So 15.25. That means I am going to give 15.25 rupees to each of these boys. And that is the average. Average is an equal distribution. So look at it. Neat. Very neat. You need not write this step on paper. You know, just look at the question, do those mental calculations and get the answer. No need to multiply 80 with 15, 15 with 16, 25. I'm sure these are easy multiplications. 15 into 16 to 40, or what is the next one? 25 into 14, 50 is easy. But if at all, even there are complicated numbers. Let's say there are 62 boys. Their average is 15 years. Then there are 29 boys and there are some 12 boys. Then what happens? It takes some time to multiply, right? What do? 62 boys, each boy should get 15 rupees. There are 29 boys who have demanded 16 rupees. So my loss is 29 rupees. Then my profit is 12 rupees, because 14 boys have asked me only 12 rupees. 14 rupees. 12 boys have asked me only 14 rupees each. So profit of 12 rupees. So minus 29 plus 12, minus 17. Minus 17 I will divide among the remaining boys. And I give them 15 rupees. 15 rupees anyway they have, plus or minus whatever is left out. So that's the whole idea, right? So the point is equal distribution. Go and solve average questions, the questions of average, using this concept of equal distribution. No need to put anything on paper. I'm sure both these steps are not required. So that's the way you solve it. Or that's the way a smart student solves it. Or I would say that's the way a banker's choice student solves it. Right? So that will, I'm sure, save at least 5 to 8 seconds for each one of you, if you have followed the earlier method. Okay? So moving on to the next one. This time I'll take a interesting question from profit and loss. And let's see how many of you, I have a number of questions here. I'm just trying to be a little choosy, right? Next question comes from profit and loss. Let's see how many of you get the right answer here. A tradesman gives 4% discount. A tradesman gives 4% discount on the mark price. Right? Mark price. NP is mark price, right? And gives, and this is another condition, and gives one article free one article free for buying every 15 articles, and in the process he saves 35% and gains 35%, and thus he gains 35%. The question here is, mark price is how much above the cost price? Mark price is increased above the cost price by what percent? MP is increased above the CP, cost price, by what percentage? I'm not going to give you the answer options here, just try and solve it. So there's a person, there's a trader, he gives 4% discount on the mark price. Already there's a price mark, but it's giving 4% discount. And then he says, I'll give you one article free for every 15 articles that you buy. So if you buy 15 articles, you'll get one article free. If you buy 30 articles, then you get 2 articles free. Right? Every 15 articles will get you one article free of this. So in this process, he's saving 35%. He gains 35%. We need to find out mark price is increased above the cost price by what percentage. So let's see how many we get it right. Okay, I can see some of you commenting that we have solved using the SMART method. So good to see that. And what is the ideal time allocation to solve quantitative aptitude paper of 35 marks and 50 marks? And this question comes from Sivateja. Right? So Teja's question here is, ideally how much time should we spend in solving 35 questions from quant? See, SBI phase 1, as you know, is a 1 hour exam, right? 1 hour and 100 questions. So how do you divide? You have actually 36 seconds per question. But anyway, we cannot take 36 into 35 and say that this is the time required for quant, 36 into 25, 35 is the time required for reasoning and so on. Because there will be some areas which requires less time. For example, English here, if you look at 30 questions from English, you cannot say that each question would require 36 seconds. Each question would take 36 seconds. Because many of the questions from the English language section can be answered in about 2 seconds or 5 seconds. You know, like for example, let's say questions on synonyms and antonyms. There's no method to get the answer. You either know the answer or you don't know the answer. As simple as that. You see a word, he's asking you to find out the word which is closest in meaning to the given word. That's it. You look at the 4 options. If you know what the meaning is, you will answer it. Otherwise, you leave. You can't be sitting there and, you know, hitting your head on the paper or the screen to get the answer. There's no method. Okay. Likewise, fill up the blanks, or let's say spotting errors. Of course, some time is required for answering questions from, you know, fill up the blanks or spotting errors, but then there's no formula that you have to apply. You just read the statement and you get the error there. So, because of which I think the time required for answering 30 questions from English. Again, I don't say answering 30 questions from English. I would say attempting 30 questions from English. And same goes for reasoning and quant as well, right? You're not going to solve 35 questions. You are going to attempt 35 questions. And again, when you say attempt, does not mean that you'll actually solve it. Attempt need not mean that does not mean that you have to mark the answer for that question. You have to attempt 35 questions. Maybe you have marked the answer only for 25 of them. See, for me, attempt means you have to touch that question. Now, whether you have solved it or not is a different story. That was your decision, right? As I always say, there will be some questions planted in between intentionally, which are time consuming. And these are traps which you have to avoid. These are bounces or not bounces. These are good balls. Don't hit them. You know, okay, leave it. Respect the bowler. Respect the examiner. Right? Only look for bad ones, bad questions. What do I mean by bad questions? Questions which can be answered in just 30 seconds or 40 seconds, right? So the point is, you have to attempt all the 100 questions. After attempting all the 100 questions, you may mark the answers only for 70. That is absolutely okay. But you have to attempt all the 100. You must not come out of the examination hall and say that, oh, I could not read the last 10 questions from English. There cannot be anything worse than that, right? You have to make sure that you. And this is one response which I get from all the students, right? You just stand outside an examination center somewhere, right? Let's say your exam is on 28th of June. 20th of June, you go and stand in front of your examination center and let's see the reaction of people coming up. 98% of them will say that I could not solve the last 10 questions, could not solve the last 15 ones. I did not even, forget about solve. I did not even read the last 10 questions. This should not happen. You must avoid this. You must make sure that you read all the 100 questions, leave 30 of them. Those were good balls. Only solve 70. Right? So when it comes to time allocation, I would say ideally it should be like what? 15 minutes for English. In fact, 15 minutes is more. You know, 12 minutes for English, 12 to 15 minutes. And remaining 45 minutes you divide between quantitative and reasoning, right? I think 25-20 or 20-25, whichever is your stronger area, right? Based on that. So that's how it is going to be. Anyway, we'll have one session on exam strategy before you actually head for the exam. So there we will discuss this in detail. Now let me see what the answer is for this one, right? 41%. Manish says approximately 40.62 or 40.62, which is approximately 41. And Sham has said 50% more than CP. Okay, some of you want me to explain this in Hindi. Let's see. Basically, the session medium of this instruction is supposed to be English. Of course, we also have Hindi sessions, Hindi live sessions. We'll look at it. Is there a negative marking or not? I don't know. I'm not sure about it. Right? They have not specified anything in the paper. There may not be a negative marking. It is expected to have negative marking. Anyway, let's look at this question. So, what does he say? A tradesman gets 4% discount on the market price. And by the way, the correct answer is, or we will solve it. We look at it. 41% is not the correct answer, right? So, a tradesman gives 4% discount on the market price and gives one article free for buying every 15 articles, and thus gains 35%. What is the percentage by which the market price has been marked above the cost price? So, what do we do? See, discount of 4%. 4% discount implies what? Selling price should be 96% of market price. You know the equation, you know the relationship between selling price, market price, and discount, right? Whatever is the discount, that when subtracted from market price, we give the selling price. I have marked the article for 100%, right? There is some price shown always. When you generally go and buy garments, what happens? Each garment will have some tag price, which is called the market price, right? Tag price or label price or market price. But do you actually pay that? No. There's always some discount there to attract the customer. So the discount here is 4%. So I only pay 96% of the price written over there, which is the market price. So what is the selling price for the shopkeeper there, for the tradesman there? He'll get 96% of market price. Alright. Now, look, you leave this part for some time, that he gives one article free for buying every 15 articles. Just forget about it for time, for the moment there. Look at this. He gains 35%. He's making a profit of 35%. Now you very well know that if the profit is 35%, then the selling price will be 135% of the cost price. Yes or no? Profit is 35%. These all concepts have been discussed in the video again, right? Selling price is always whatever percentage profit above the cost price, right? For example, if the profit is, let's say, 61.25%, what will be the selling price? 161.25% of cost price, right? Selling price is always with respect to cost price when we're looking at profit and loss. With respect to market price, when you're looking at discount. So you know these two equations, that selling price should be 96% of market price and it should be 135% of cost price. So generally what do? We'll balance this out, right? We'll try to balance this equation. 96% of market price is equal to 135% of cost price. 96% of market price equals to 135% of cost price. And we get the relationship between market price and cost price. But the problem here is, or the point here is, the twist here is, he gives one article free for buying every 15 articles. So there is a difference in the quantities sold and the price charge, or the price charge for number of quantities, right? For the quantity. What happens? See, you are giving one article free for every 15 articles. Let's say I am the shopkeeper, right? I am selling these markers. For every 15 markers that you buy, I'll give you one marker free. Now if you look at it, you have got 15 markers. How much will you pay me for? You will pay me for 15 markers. You will pay only for 15 markers. But I'll give you one marker free. If you look at it, the selling price that I get as a shopkeeper is for 15 markers. But the cost price will be for 16 markers because one marker I am giving free. That is my decision, right? But then I have to include the cost of that 16 marker. In my costing, I have to include the cost of it. So what happens? If you look at this equation, the selling price will be 15 times. Why is it 15 times? Because you will pay me only for 15 markers. But the cost price should be taken for 16 times. Right? I'll take the cost price for 16 articles. So that's the idea. So what do you know? 15S equals to 135% into 16C. The cost price is 16 articles. Now you know that selling price is equal to 96% of market price substituted here. So 15 into 96% of M equals to 135% into 16C, or 16 into 135% of C. Right? Doesn't make any difference. Now simplify. See, percentage doesn't make any difference here. By 100 gets cancelled. 15 goes, I think, 9 times here. 16 goes 6 times. So market price is equal to 9/6 cost price. What is 9/6? 1.5 times the cost price. Market price is 1.5 times the cost price. Mark price is 1.5 times cost price means what? It is 150% of cost price. 150%. 1.5 is 150%. So how much percentage above? 50% more. Mark price is 150% of cost price means it is 100% of cost price plus extra 50% of cost price. So this is what is our answer, right? How much is the mark price above the cost price? It is 50% above the cost price. So the correct answer for this question will be 50%. And I'm sure you can cut down the number of steps. You need not write all this in the exam. Don't waste your time. You must start with this equation. 15s equals to 135 into 16c. Then substitute s equals to 96%. Or if you're smart enough, or if you have understood the question properly, if you're clear with the concept, you'll directly write this step. Simplify and get the answer. So the answer for this one, different question from profit and loss, is 50%. Mark price is 50% above the cost price. So let's move on to the next one. Let me see. There are a variety of questions. I mean, partnerships, mensuration, profit and loss, simple and compound interest, and then many others there. Let me just take one of them. Okay, let's take something on SI and CI, simple and compound interest, right? What does it say? The difference between simple interest and compound interest obtained on a principal at 5% per annum after 2 years is rupees 35. What is the principal amount? The difference between SI and CI obtained on a principal amount is principal amount at the rate of 5% per annum after 2 years is rupees 35. What is the principal? What is the principal amount? That's the question. Alright, difference between SI and CI obtained on some amount at 5% per annum after 2 years is rupees 35. What is the principal amount? Shall I give you the answer options? 15,000 or 10,000 or 14,000 or 13,000, and fifth option, none of these. Right, and then there are different methods. You can either go by the traditional method, the conventional method, where we use SI and CI formula, or there is a shortcut formula for answering such questions. Right, shortcut formula when the difference between SI and CI is given, that can be used, or you can use your conceptual knowledge, right? The concept of percentages, which we use for solving questions from SI and CI to mark the answer. So I'll give you some 30 seconds. Let's see how many to get it right. Good. I think many of you have already marked the answer, 14,000. But some of you say it is 140, which is not justified. 140 is 140 or 1400 is not the answer. 14,000. So I shouldn't have given the answer option there, because you are struggling with the number of zeros. Some of you say it's 140, others say it is 1400, and then most of you say it is 14,000. So 14,000 is the answer. Yes. See, what do we do? You can go by the formula, right? The shortcut formula says that principal should be equal to difference into 100 squared by r squared. This is the shortcut. The shortcut for answering such questions. Shortcut formula says principal amount will be equal to difference into 100 squared by r squared. But whenever there is a shortcut, there is a star mark. What is the star? Not important. The star does not mean that it is important, right? Important means you put the star on that side. That is your lookout. Star here means conditions apply. The condition here is this formula is applicable only for 2 years. This is applicable only for 2 years, right? So applicable for 2 years again does not mean till 2017. Like general conditions apply, right? Valid only up to so and so. When the time period is given as 2 years, right? When the time period is 2 years, this is the formula. If the time period is 3 years, then what's the formula? Principal will be equal to difference into 100 cube by r squared into 300 plus r. Don't try to derive your own formula. right? After I write the numerator, I'm sure at least one of you have got the idea that if it is 100 square by r square here, this should be 100 cube by r cube here, because 2 years and this is for 3 years. This is for 3 years, but that's not the case, right? Difference into 100 cube by r square into 300 plus r. So you can use this two shortcut formula depending on the case and solve it to get the answer, right? So what's the formula here? 2 years. Because the time period is given as 2 years, we use the first one. So the principal amount can be directly calculated as what is that? Difference. What's the difference given? 35 rupees. 35 into 100 square upon r square. What is r? 5% per annum. So 5 square. Now 5 square is what? 25. 100 by 25 is 4. 4 into 35 is 140. 140 with another 100. 140 into 100 is 14,000. Now let's say you forget this formula in the exam. Let's say you're not trying to, you're unable to recollect it, right, in the exam. Then what do? Then don't try to go by the formula there. SI equals to PTR by 100 and CI is P into 1 plus R by 100 whole square minus P and minus SI. PTR by 100 equals to 35. Don't try to use the formula. Your life will become miserable, right? You can't be substituting all the values here to simplify, right? That will be very complicated. Instead, you go by our concept of finding out simple interest and compound interest. See, the rate is 5% per annum. Time period is 2 years. What will be simple interest? 5% plus 5%. How much is that? 10%. What will be the compound interest for the same rate and same time period? You know that CI is calculated as effective percentage. Effective of 5% for 2 years. That means 5 plus 5 plus 5 into 5 by 100, right? A plus B plus AB by 100. So 5, very, very important concept. Effective percentage is, in my view, the most important concept when it comes to arithmetic aptitude, right? Percentages, profit and loss, SI and CI, mensuration. We can use this in n number of cases. Time and work, time and distance. We can apply it everywhere. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 into 5 by 100. How much is this? 10 plus 0.25. So this is 10.25%. And you need not put pen on paper for doing these calculations, right? You know that this is 5 into 2, 10, and 5 plus 5 plus 5 into 500, 10.25. The point is the difference here. Difference between S and C is how much? This is 10.25% and this is 10%. So what's the difference? 0.25%. 0.25%. But the given difference in the question is 35. 0.25 is equal to 35. 0.25% is 35. What are we required to find out here? Principal amount, right? You know that principal should always be treated as 100%. So if 0.25 is 35, 100% is equal to what? 0.25% is 35, 100% equals to what? What do you do? Cross multiply. Cross multiply and get an answer. Or no need to cross multiply. See, 0.25 into 4, that's again cross multiplication only, but instead of writing anything on paper, try to do it in a smart way. 0.25% is 35. 0.25 into 4 will give us 1. 0.25% into 4 will give us 1%. So into 4 on both the sides. So 1% will be how much? 35 into 4, which is 140. If 1% is 140, 100% would be 14,000, right? Into 100. So that's your answer. Or even if you let's say you are solving this in the last 5 seconds, or last 3 seconds, you just want to mark some answer there. The examiner is about to snatch your paper. Or of course, on an exam, the screen automatically goes off. But even if you want to make a kind of blind guess there, you shouldn't mark something like 15, 10, or 13 there. See, if you look at the numbers, this may not be true always, but if at all you are making a blind guess, then do this. 35, 14, right? 35 into 4, 14,000 of 140. It should be something, some multiple of 35. So 14,000. Anyway, there shouldn't be a situation where you have to make a blind guess, at least for these type of questions. But if at all you do, then be careful. It should be a smart guess, right? It should not be a guess. It should be a smart guess. CI for 3 years. I'm sure. Many of you will ask this question. How do we get the compound interest for 3 years using this technique? Okay. So see, the rate of interest is 5% per annum for 2 years. What do we do? SI equals to 5 plus 5 plus 5 into 5 by 100, which is 10.25%, right? For 2 years. The formula here is A plus B plus AB by 100. When 2 percentages are given to you, A and B are 2 percentages, and you want to get the effective of these 2 percentages, right? Then you use A plus B plus AB by 100. And compound interest is a case of effective percentage there. Okay. So 5% is the rate for 2 years, means first year rate is 5%, second year also the rate is 5%. But since it is a compounding procedure, we have to use the effective percentage formula. Detailed discussion is there in the video. There you can follow. So 5 plus 5 will 5 into 5 by 100. A plus B plus AB by 100. If at all there are two different rates of interest. For example, let's say first year the rate is 5%, second year the rate is 10%. What do you do? Same formula. A is 5, B is 10. But generally the rate of interest is constant for both the years. So 5 plus 5 plus 5 to 5. But let's say it is for 3 years. Then what do you do? See, 5%, 5%, and 5% have for 3 years. SI is very easy to calculate. What will be the simple interest? Simple interest will be 15%. Because simple interest is simple. Just add 5, 5, and 5. But compound interest, how do you do it? See, CI here in this case, what you need to do is same formula, A plus B plus AB by 100. But you need to use it twice. Don't try to derive your own formula again, like I told you in the last one, right? For 2 years, the formula is A plus B plus AB by 100. Then for 3 years, the formula will be A plus B plus C plus ABC by 100. Or some students say ABC by 1000. You know, they're trying to derive it. Whenever I take a classroom session, if you're in front of me, I would have done that, right? And I'm sure many of you would have done this, right? For 2 years, the formula is A plus B plus AB by 100. The moment I say this, your bulb glows. You say, 2 years it is A plus B plus AB by 100, and 3 years it should be A plus B plus C plus ABC by 100. Then I say, should it be 100 or 1000? So some of you say, no, it should be 1000 because 2 values, 2 zeros, 3 values, 3 zeros. These kind of logic, right? Don't do this. Don't derive your own formula, right? That's not the formula. What we need to do here is same formula, A plus B plus AB by 100, use it 2 times, use it twice. First apply to these two, what do we get? 10.25%. Then with the result of these two and the left out percentage, again apply A plus B plus AB by 100. So the idea here is each percentage must be used once in this effective percentage concept. So we use first two, get the value, then with the result, the value that we have got and the left out percentage. Again apply A plus B plus AB by 100. So 10.25 plus 5 plus 10.25 into 5 by 100. So how much will this be? 5 by 100 is 20. 10.25 by 20. That will be how much? 1.025. So 1.01. Are you able to follow? This goes 20 times. So 10 by 20. 10 by 20 is actually 0.5. 10 by 20 is half, 0.5. A little more than 0.5 because here we have 10.25. Slightly more than 0.5. Anyway, so 10 plus 10.25 plus 5 is 15.25. 15.25 plus again half, let's say approximately half. So we can say this is approximately 15.75%. And I'm sure the answer options are given in such a way that you can do an approximate calculation and mark the answer. Okay? Approximately 15.75, a little more than 15.75. Why? See, we have assumed that this value is 10. So 10 into 5, 50 by 100 is half, 0.5. 10.25 plus 5, 15.25. 15.25 plus 0.5, 15.75. But this is an approximate calculation. Actual value will be a little more than that, slightly more than that, right? So just mark the answer which is slightly more than that. So that's the way you do compound interest for 3 years. Again, for 4 years, the same concept. Let's say 4 years. You know, it is given as 10% per annum for 4 years. What do you do? 10%, 10%, 10%, and 10%. First use these two. What do we get? A plus B plus AB by 100. So 10 plus 10 plus 10 into 10 by 100. 20 plus what? 21%. This is 21%. Then, you know, you are actually supposed to use 21 with 10. You get one result. Right? 21 with 10. You get one result. Then whatever result you've got, let's say you've got X. Then X with 10, you get another result. This is the final answer. But instead of doing this, see, the idea is every percentage has to be used once in the effective percentage concept. So what do? Instead of doing it this way, you first take for the first two, then take it for the next two. How does it matter? Which percentage have you used first? It does not matter. So we'll do it for these two. Now it is obvious that for 10 and 10 if it is 21, here also it is going to be 21. Then apply it for these. So you will save one step. Which step? The second step is not required. The moment you have done for 10 and 10 as 21, this also will be 21. Just do it for 21 again. 21 plus 21 plus 21 into 21 by 100. Are you able to follow? 10 is 4 times 10% for 4 years. These two will give you 21. So obviously these two will also be 21 effective. Then apply effective to this. So 21 plus 21, 42 plus 21 into 21 by 100. 21 square, 441. 441 by 100, 4.41. 42 plus 4.41, 46.41. That is your compound interest for 4 years and the rate of interest is 10%. How much time does it take? Not more than 8 seconds. In fact, less than that. Less than 8 seconds. 46.41% of what? Of the given principle. Whatever is the principle of that principal amount in the answer. So it's all about being good at your concepts. You have to, very clearly understand all your concepts, get your basics right, and then very strong in your calculation. You have to be very, very strong in your calculations. Again, if calculating 46.41% of the given principle takes 2 minutes for you, there's no point in solving this one. Okay. So when it comes to quantitative aptitude, I think calculation is the key to success. Calculation is the more you practice, the easier it gets. So keep practicing on your calculations. I'm sure that will help you. Now I'll do one thing then. If that is the case, let us pick up a few questions on calculations again. Simplifications. You know that simplifications can also be asked in this exam, right? Simplification is an important area. Let's take this one. I mean, a very simple question, but I'll tell you how to divide, right? 4.5 into 437 divided by 19 equals to what? 103.5, 115.3, 105.3, 113.5, and none. Simple question. 4.5 into 437 divided by 19 equals to what? I'm sure all of you will get the right answer. No doubt about it. Everyone, each one of you will get the right answer. But what matters is not the right answer. I mean, of course, right answer is important, but then how quickly do you get answer? All of you will get the right answer, but who's the fastest? This is a running race. Competitive exam is a running race. So who will get the answer fastest is the question. Or how do you actually multiply and divide is the question. What do you do first? That's the question. Okay, I think Pani Puri. Interesting name, Pani. Am I reading it right? Yeah, Pani Puri. Good. I've heard about Om Puri and other Puri, but Pani Puri for the first time. And the question here is, how do you calculate CI for 5 years? Let me tell you Pani Puri. CI for 5 years, if at all it is asked in the exam, right? Let's say some principle is given, time period is given, and the rate of interest is given. Rate is time period is 5 years. What is the compound interest? Let's take a very basic question. If that is asked, the easiest way to answer that question would be to skip and go to the next one. Generally, they will not ask. They'll ask you only for 2 years or 3 years. Right? They generally don't ask questions for more than 3 years. If at all it is asked, I would suggest, or I would say the best way to solve that question is to skip it. That means you have attended the question. You have decided that I will not solve it. Right? Let's say if it is given as 12% per annum for 5 years and the principal is 14,800 rupees. Find out the CI. 12% for 5 years. 12, 12, 12, 12, and 12. So first 12 will give you how much? 25.44%. 12 plus 12 plus 12 into 12 by 100. Then next 12 will also give you 25.44. Then for these 25.44 and 25.44, you again have to calculate the effective. So 25.44 plus 25.44 plus 25.44 into 25.44 by 100. You'll get some value. Then with that value on the left out 12%, again you have to calculate A plus B plus D by 100. So 25.44 plus 25.44 will give you how much? I think 50.88 plus 25.44 into 25.44 by 100. So that will be approximately, I think 6%. The last part of it, right? 6.25. 6.25 by 100, right? 625 by 100. 6.5 or approximately 6.5%. So 50.88 plus 6.5%. That will be 57.38%. 57.38% of the given principal. All this would definitely take more than 1 minute. However fast you do, it is going to take more than 1 minute. So skip it. Because you know that you have only 25 minutes or 20 minutes for answering 35 questions. I will not say skip it completely, mark it for review. You know that there is an option called marking it for review in the exam, in the SBA PO exam interviews, right? What do? Mark it for review. You're not leaving it completely, you're leaving it for time being. I'll not touch it now, I'll solve the remaining ones, easier ones, and if time permits, I'll come back, right? So how do you do? I think very simple, 4.5 into 437 divided by 19. The bottom of the rule says first you have to divide. Even otherwise, I would say, you know, there's no point in multiplying. First you divide 437 by 19. Now how you divide is the question. If you start doing this, 437, 19, 2s are 38, 5, then 7 comes down. All this drama, if you do, you're gone. What do you have to do? 437 by 19. As I discussed earlier, split the numerator. Right? The best way to do divisions is split the numerator in terms of the denominator. Split the numerator in such a way that it is giving you some multiple of denominator. For example, 437, I would take it as 380 plus 57. 380 plus 57. Now, why is it 380 plus 57? Why not 400 plus 37? Because if I take it as 400 plus 37, the problem is not solved. Right? The question here is 437 by 19, right? We want to split 437 in such a way that it is at least one part is a multiple of 90. So I'll take it as 380 plus 90. 380 plus 57. Why 380 plus 57? Because I know 380 is divisible by 90. Don't ask me how. When you practice, you get 90 into 2 is 38. So 19, 20 times you get 380. So now what happens? 437 by 19 will become 380 by 19 plus 57 by 19. Two different calculations. 380 by 19 is 20. 57 by 19 is 3. Exactly divisible. So I need not worry about it. If this is not divisible, let's say exactly. Again, you split it further and keep following this. So 380 is 20 times and 57 is 3 times. 20 plus 3, 23 times. So your final answer will be 4.5 into 23. 4.5 into 23. How do you multiply now? 23 into 4.5. 23 into 4 plus 23 into 0.5. 23 into 4 is 92. 23 into 0.5. Half of 23. 11.5. 92 plus 11.5. 103.5. Right? Of course, you can apply various other techniques also, unit division method and all that, but not required. I think even if you do the complete calculation, it shouldn't take more than 10 seconds for you to mark that. Right? Let us take something. For example, let's say just some calculation. You have to multiply 72 into 77. How do you do 72 into 77? Of course, you know the IXI technique, right? How do you multiply two digit numbers on paper? IXI. First multiply the unit spaces, then cross multiply, then multiply the 10 spaces, and you get an answer. But you apply this only when everything else fails. Everything else it fails, then you go for this. This is the last resort. IXI is the last, final method to do it. But before that, think of something else. Of course, in the exam you don't have to think. Think of doing it in multiple ways when you practice. Right? So how do you multiply 72 with 77? Mentally you can do, of course, mentally you can multiply, you can say split and merge and do something and get the answer. But then, see, keep one point in mind. Whenever you're looking at numbers which have got same tens place, an easy way to do it is 72 into 77. Break both the numbers, split both the numbers. Generally we split only one of them. Either we split 77 or we split 72. Here again 77 can also be taken as 11 into 7. But that doesn't really help, right? 72 into 11, then into 7 would take time. The easiest way, in my view, to multiply these two numbers would be split both of them in terms of 70. This is 70 plus 2. This is 70 plus 7. You understand? This is like A plus B into A plus C. Now, the idea is when you have same number in both the terms, same first part in both the terms, it's easy to multiply them, right? 70 into 70. You know that is 4,900. Now 2 into 70, 7 into 70. 2 will be multiplied with 70, 7 will also be multiplied with 70. 2 into 70, 7 into 70. Instead of that, I can say 9 into 70. 9 into 70, 630. Plus 2 into 7, 14. So 4,900 plus 630. 5,530 plus 14. 5,543 is your answer. 5,544 is your answer. Double 5 is your answer. Getting the point? See, had it been 72 into 78, much easier. Why? These are complementary numbers, partially complementary numbers. You know how to multiply complementary numbers. What will be the answer? This will be 5616, 5,660. But 72 into 78. Unit spaces add up to 10 and 10 spaces are equal. So multiply the unit spaces, 10 spaces into the next digit. 7 into 8, 56. So that's a different case. But when it is not adding up to 10, unit spaces when they're not adding up to 10, but the 10 spaces are equal. Try to do this. It's very easy. You don't have to write all this. 70 square, 4,900. 2 plus 7, 9. 9 into 70, 630. 2 into 7, 14. 4,900 plus 630, 5,530. 5,530 plus 14, 5,544. Let's say it is 43 into 46. What do you do? 1600 plus 360. 1960. 1960 plus 18. 1978 is your answer. And because I'm reading out, it takes time. If you have to do it in your head mentally, you'll surely get the answer in lesser time, right? You'll say something, right? What do we do? 40 into 40, 1600. 3 plus 9, 3 plus 6 is 9. 9 into 40, 360. 1600 plus 360, 1960. 1960 plus 3 into 6, 18. There are only 3 terms. First is ready-made. 40 square, 70 square, 80 square, whatever it is. Then 3 plus 6, 9 into 40. And 3 into 6, 18. 9 to 40, 360. 1600 plus 360, 1960. 1960 plus 18, 1978. Get the point? Let's say it is, just one more example. Let's say it is what? 61 into 69. What do? Don't split the numbers. No need to do that. The answer will be 4209. Partially complementary numbers. See, you should get the idea. The moment you look at the numbers, you should get the right idea, the best idea. And how does that happen? Only through practice. Sheer practice. Practice, and more practice. But if it is 61 into 68. Then what do? 3600. 9 into 60, 540. 3600 plus 540, 4140 plus 8. 4148 is the answer. Again, I'm speaking it out. It takes time. If I have to do within my head, within myself, without telling anything, I'll save at least 1 second, if not. And same applies to you also, right? So this is very much required. I mean, more than solving any question from quantitative aptitude, I think you need to realize the fact that calculation is the key. If you're strong in calculation, you'll definitely get a good score. You'll get a better score. Even otherwise, you'll get a good score, I'm sure. But to make it better, you have to be very strong in calculation. Just think of this. I'll give you 20 minutes to answer 35 questions from quant. You'll get X number of marks, right? 20 minutes, 35 questions. You will score some marks there, right? You get a score. Out of 35, let's say you have solved 25 correct or 30 correct, whatever it is, or 20 correct, or only 15 correct, whatever. So if I've given you 20 minutes with 35 questions, you will get, let's say, X. Now take another situation. 35 questions, 20 minutes. Same. 35 questions with 20 minutes, but this time calculator is allowed. I'll give you a calculator. Use it. Will you get the same score? Are you able to follow? This time the calculator is allowed. So will you get the same score? I'm sure not. You'll get a better score. Because this time you have a tool which can help you, do the most important part of the question really quick. Instead of doing it on paper or multiplying in your head, you use the calculator and get an answer. You will easily score at least 5 or 8 marks more than what you have done in the earlier case. So the point which you can understand from this is, if you are somehow strong in calculations, your score will go up. You can anyway solve all the questions, right? You know the method, you know the shortcut, you know the concept, you know the smart method. But where we get stuck, where we end up wasting a lot of time is our calculation part. And I think because of this, we have done speed maths as a first session on quantitative aptitude, right? As a part of the speed learning series. You can go watch that session once again. Of course, we couldn't do much there, only 1 hour of time. Even for this session, time is up, but you can watch all the videos if you want, right? There are more than 350 videos as a part of the Banker's Choice program across all the topics, which you can refer and prepare for these exams. So the point is, calculation is the key, right? I'm repeating this time and again, calculation is the key. It's very simple. Your score in quantitative aptitude is proportional to your calculation ability, directly proportional to your calculation ability. Of course, you should know how to solve it, and I'm sure you know how to solve all the questions, right? Formula or shortcut or smart method or the convention method, whichever method you use. Something which is required in every method and every question of quant is the calculation part. So with this thought, I think we'll close the session. I wish I could do more. I could solve more number of questions, but we'll meet again. We'll meet again next week. I think next week, 27th of May, is your session on English as a part of this speed learning series, where Sylvia will cover something very important from the English language part. So don't forget to join that session with your friends, 6 p.m. 27th of May. And again, we'll repeat the cycle. We'll come up with something on quant, reasoning, and English there. So keep watching these 3 sessions there. Thank you all for participating, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, because you'll be, you'll get to know about this sessions through these 2 mediums, right? So do watch our sessions, and if you want to know about any of our programs, you can visit our website, that is www.talentsprint.com, right? You get to know all about our programs there, or you can call our call center at 1-800-2000-916. I repeat, 1-800-2000-916. And that's it. Thank you once again for participating. Please share your valuable feedback, and practice is the key. So keep practicing. There's only 1 month left for the exam, and you cannot leave anything to chances there. So practice as much as you can. Thank you. See you again.